Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. This is part 19. I'm not sure. Yulana was standing before me with a tricky smile.
How did you manage to carry me to the cabin? Wasn't it hard?
Not really. What have you come for? I couldn't sleep, but at that moment, bed seemed to be the only place where I could reside with no suffering, which is why Yulana's sudden visit didn't please me at all.
How was she? Did you get scolded?
No, I avoided it somehow.
That's great then. I always get lucky.
That's for sure. My eyes began closing despite my will. It seems that slumber has finally come upon me. Look, I'm very tired.
This won't take long. Close your eyes.
It was the easiest thing to do, and I didn't even want to know what she needed it for. Maybe that way she could leave me alone sooner. I closed my eyes. Not a bad moment. And in that moment I felt a brief kiss. My eyes opened by themselves, but Yulana was already running away, waving her hand to me. I stood still, benumbed, and couldn't even manage to shout anything after her. I don't know for how long I stood like that, but eventually the night chill cleared my stupor. I shivered and went back to bed. This time I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to think it all through, but my eyes, which had begun to close as I was standing before Yulana, seemed to issue a command to the rest of the body, and I fell asleep before I realized what happened. Did the day just end? It did. Yulana! What are you doing there? Get out of the screen. I can't say that my morning was good. Instead, I woke up absolutely broken. The room was filled with a bright sunlight. Outside the window, birds were lightheartedly chirping. I reluctantly dragged myself into a sitting position and stretched. I slowly started to recall the events of the previous day. A trip, a silly ghost game, Yulana falling asleep, and... Yep, that happened. A kiss. I blushed immediately. It was so surprising that I'd been knocked out of reality for a while. The main problem is, how should I treat her now? At first glance, nothing special had happened, but it was a kiss on the cheek. You treat her exactly the same. Besides, she's the last girl in the whole camp from which one would expect such actions. She seemed to me at best to be like a little sister, nothing more. But for her, apparently, I was more than a big brother. Though perhaps I just imagined all that, and there was no hidden meaning, deep motives, or allusions to far-reaching conclusions in this kiss. Just an expression of gratitude? Probably. Yulana is definitely capable of extraordinary deeds, and could easily turn simple things into complicated ones. Finally, I decided to pull off the matter till the time I could meet her face to face. The clock showed 11, meaning Olga didn't wake me up for breakfast. However, I shouldn't worry. There wasn't much time left till lunch. I took my bag of washing accessories and went to do my water procedures. I didn't meet anybody on the way. Probably all the pioneers are busy with their own things. The place near the basins was deserted too. Just 5 minutes later, I again stood in front of the camp leader's cabin, thinking of what to do next. Nothing worthwhile having come to my head. I sat in the deck chair and possibly could have stayed here until lunch, but I was drawn from my trance by a familiar voice.
Hi!
I looked up and saw Slavia, who was smiling at me sweetly. Hi.
You overslept again?
Seems like it.
That's no good.
Perhaps. And where are you going? Actually, I was not really interested in Slavia's agenda for today, but I wanted to keep the conversation going.
Well, I've got some things to do.
I see. Silence followed. She was about to leave when suddenly I said, Mind sitting with me for a while?
Sure, why not?
Slavia sat nearby.
Something's worrying you, isn't it?
No, why do you think so?
I can read it on your face.
She laughed softly. Not really. Although probably Slavia was right. Something really was worrying me. Obviously, I was worried about last night's events. Listen, do you have any little brothers or sisters?
I do.
And how do you get along?
Pretty well.
She smiled widely.
And you?
No, I don't, I said after a short pause.
So why are you asking?
I don't know, just... Do you always understand them?
I try to.
Sometimes I just cannot make out what children want. Suddenly I stopped for a moment. Slavia doesn't know that I'm actually much older than I look. To her, I am still a child myself. Those who are younger.
Why?
Well, I cannot always understand the motivations of their actions. They often behave illogically.
Weren't you as old as them at some time ago?
She looked at me with surprise. Of course I was. At that moment, it seemed to me that it had been a very long time ago. And when I looked at Ulana, that time turned into a gulf of years.
Well, think of yourself at that time.
I was different. At least it seemed like that to me.
If so, good for you.
Slavia laughed again. And you? Did you also do stupid things?
Depends on what age we are talking about.
Well, let's say the age of 14, for instance.
I said 14 earlier.
I think... maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, different things were happening,
She said, thoughtfully. Okay, that's nice, but it still doesn't make anything clear.
Maybe that's the way it should be.
Maybe. Slavia stood up, wished me goodbye, and left. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. The sound of the bell calling the pioneers for lunch woke me up. Although the sound was quiet and was coming from far away, my body worked like a clockwork automaton, and in due time I was standing near the door of the canteen. And that's where I met Ulana.
Hi there.
Yeah.
I already ate.
She laughed briefly and ran away. I didn't stop her. After all, I had nothing to say to her. I took a meal and was already heading to my favorite place in the corner when suddenly somebody grabbed me by the hand. Sit down right here. Alyssa's voice sounded menacing, but at the same time somehow pleading. What happened?
Got something to discuss with you,
she said with a slightly softer tone. Okay. I sat down next to her. So what's the subject?
You were there yesterday, when she played that dumb prank with the bedsheet.
It was pointless to lie to Alyssa.
Yeah, I was there.
That's... She laughed out loud.
Why on earth did you do that?
Alyssa instantly became serious and gave me a level look. Why don't you ask her?
No, I'm asking you, so you have to talk.
I don't know, I rasped. Or you better tell me, why didn't the camp leader react? How should she react? I think you know. I looked at her skeptically. Well, she just did not realize who it was. Well, I must admit, Olga's deductive abilities have much to be desired. And then, was you who brought her back last night? Nope. Shakespearean elves did it, I said mockingly. What's the problem with that?
No problem at all.
Alyssa stared at her plate and started to eat with concentration. Also, she ran off to somewhere during the night and came back in a happy mood. And?
Don't you know anything about that?
Even if I do, why do you care? She gave me an intense gaze.
Well, I do care.
I would have never thought that she could be so concerned about someone besides herself. Nothing like that happened, if you'd like to know.
Nah, it's not about that,
Alyssa replied shortly without looking at me. Probably it was a bad idea to bring up this subject. By the way, what's that like that? What do you mean?
What you just said.
What's that I just said? I tried to joke around to confuse her.
Hey, listen to me, I'm watching you.
Oh, I'm so scared, I said roughly, took my tray and left the table. I definitely wasn't afraid of Alyssa's words, even though they sounded like a threat. In fact, I was more interested by her concern for Ulana. Of all the local inhabitants, she was surely the last one you would expect to worry about another person. I walked out of the canteen and into the real furnace. The sun blazed so ruthlessly that nobody could stay under its scorching rays. It was time to find to cool. Bleh. It was time to find a cool. Bleh. It was time to find a cool and shady place. Huh. And the beach seemed like the best place for this. Oddly enough, the beach was not crowded. Perhaps most of the pioneers were scared of the scorching heat, or maybe they just decided to take a nap after lunch. I didn't bring my swimming trunks, so I just sat under an umbrella and began to watch the swimmers. There was no one I knew, and it was better that way, as I had an opportunity to sit quietly and think. 5.5 days have already passed since my arrival, and what has changed? There were a couple of unexplained but completely harmless events, but all in all, it was just a regular pioneer camp. And this was making me even more frightened. What's going to happen next? Another day, another week, and what's going to happen after the session's over? I've got nowhere to return to. Maybe in this time I hadn't been born yet, or even worse. After thinking all this over for a few minutes, I went back to yesterday evening. Strange, but I worried about it much more than before. On the one hand, I wanted to say something to make the situation clear, but on the other hand, I avoided any meeting with Yulana by all means, afraid of making a fool of myself with a wrong word or gesture. I closed my eyes and dozed off for a while. When I woke up, I saw Lena by my side, so that's what her swimming suit looks like. How long have you been sitting here? I asked in surprise.
Not too long.
Strange that she did not wake me up. Did something happen? I don't know why, but my sixth sense was telling me that she's eager to say something but doesn't dare.
No, what about you?
Neither.
Are you sure?
Of course, I smiled.
Then what do you want to talk about?
Why would you think that I want to talk?
It seems like it.
Nah, not really. A long silence ensued. Do you have any little brothers or sisters?
No. What about you?
I don't.
So, why would you ask me that?
Sometimes I think that I don't understand children at all.
Me too.
Lena's face didn't express anything.
But it's probably gotta be like that.
What do you mean? How should I treat them then?
Treat them the way you think is right.
Well, that's the whole idea. I don't know what is right and what is wrong.
The more you think about it, the more you'll regret the mistake.
Well, that's true, but it doesn't help. I was somewhat surprised by such profound words from Lena. Of course, she said all that with a trace of shyness or modesty, and without inappropriate openness, but still. You mean that I should follow the first idea I get off of the top of my head? I laughed.
As the saying goes, your first thought is the right one.
Do you believe that?
I don't know.
We sat there for some time, then she stood up.
Well, I've gotta go.
Thanks for the conversation.
Don't mention it.
Lena smiled faintly. I lay down and stared at the burning sun. You're gonna go blind, Semyon. Your first thought is right, huh? And what if my first thought was to kiss her back? By the way, what was the first thought that came to me at the time? I tried painfully hard to remember, but nothing worked. Not even scraps of thought surfaced in my brain. However, in that situation, I could only follow Lena's advice, since it all happened so suddenly. The sun was setting slowly, so I rose and went towards the canteen, as my stomach told me that even the participants in such a fantastic story should have regular meals. This has been a lazy day. Semyon spent the whole time sleeping and eating. Somebody called me at the square. It was electronic. He ran up to me, caught his breath, and said, "Semyon." Yeah, that's probably me. Take it. He handed me some kind of a key. What's this? It's the key to our clubhouse. And why would I want it? Olga asked me to, considering that I will not be returning there today. So give it to Shurik. He has his own business. So take it yourself. I can't. Why not? Listen, just take it. Why would I need it? What am I going to do with it? You'll give it back to me later. Why wouldn't you just keep the damn key? Listen. Well, I have to go. Clearly this world is self-aware and seeming to be one entity as a whole. Fuck this world. He shoved the key into my hand and ran. No matter how you look at it, he is definitely strange. However, I didn't pay any significant attention to this event and just put the key in my pocket. I got to the canteen even before dinner. Fortunately, it was already open, but no food was being served. I took my favorite seat in the farthest corner and concentrated on playing with a toothpick. Soon, I got the feeling that someone was standing next to me. I raised my eyes and spotted Olga. We just stared at each other for some time. Do you need something? Finally, I broke the silence. You know, Semyon. Sure, I understand everything, but... What? I asked, surprised. Did you think I didn't notice your absence last night? Absence is quite an overstatement. I'd rather just say I went out for a moment. Well, so what? What's the matter? I thought that it had nothing to do, but... I thought that it was nothing too, but I was determined to check. The camp leader's expression was increasingly heading towards a frown. So, have you checked? I still couldn't understand what she was up to. Yeah, I checked. And you know what? For a true pioneer, it's just unacceptable. It's shameful. It's disgraceful, especially with her. She flushed red with exertion. I don't even want to hear your pitiful excuses. A vague idea of what she was talking about dawned on me. So what happened? Would you care to explain? And now you've got the nerve to play innocent. You! With Yulana! Now it all became crystal clear. I've got two things to tell you. First, I started getting steamed up. Nothing of that sort happened there, and I'm the last one who has any relation to this situation. And you think that... Second, I rudely interrupted her. Who told you that? In fact, the answer was obvious. Yulana would not do that. And if she had decided to once again play a trick on me, she would have done it much earlier. From the time spent here, I'd begun to understand her well. And that leaves only one possible candidate. Why does it matter? No, it does. Would you care to explain your behavior, then? Olga seemed to be a little taken aback by my vehemence. There's nothing to explain. I quickly got up and headed to the exit of the canteen. Semyon, wait. I heard the camp leader's weak prattle behind me. If you act decisively with her, then she is not that confident. So now I have to get things straight with now. While her pranks hadn't concerned me, or only concerned me indirectly, I could bear it. Just thinking about it, I'd even started to consider her not such a bad person. I met Slavia at the square. Do you know where Alyssa is? Yes, I do. What's the matter? Just tell me. My words sound obviously rough, but it seems that she didn't pay it any attention. She's at the music club. Slavia was right, and I met Alyssa near the music club. However, she was accompanied by Miku. Mind explaining yourself? I don't waste time on pleasantries. No, what makes you think so? Alyssa gave me a cute smile.
Oh, Sam. Hi. How nice that you're here too. Maybe the three of us can play something? I have a new song and, you know, it is so funny. I'm sure you'll like it, I promise. Or we can choose something old.
Miku interrupted the conversation. Could you?
What?
She looked at me with a smile of an uncomprehending child. From that moment, I understood what exactly she had in mind. Little rabbits, teddy bears, pussycats, but no sign of intelligence. I need to talk to Alyssa, I said in a tone that brooked no disagreement.
Okay, maybe later.
It looked like she was upset, though I didn't care. So,
I don't understand what you mean,
Alyssa said, offended.
And anyway, I have to go.
She turned around and got ready to leave. I want to grab her arm roughly, I do. I want to beat her up, but that's wrong. Hey, not so fast. She stopped and turned to me. I'm not here to kill you. My words sounded like a joke, but Alyssa flinched. Who told the camp leader that Yulana came to me at night?
I don't know,
she pleaded piteously. We discussed it this morning, didn't we? She said nothing, but continued to look at me with fear in her eyes. And most importantly, what's the purpose of telling 1,000 lies? I really don't know what you're talking about. her eyes filled with tears. Suddenly, I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. I know those feels, Semyon. I know those feels. What if she isn't guilty? And why did I immediately think of her? Anyone else could easily have seen us at night. You never know, even Yulana herself could tell anyone. Are you sure? I asked harshly.
Yes.
I thought for a second, and this time was just enough for Alyssa to escape. Now the only true solution is to talk to Olga again. I'm gonna end the part there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace.